Hey, good morning. This is AK Heather Joy, and you are on the lifeboat. Guys, I am not feeling well this morning at all. So I already know I'm not going to be able to stick it out for an hour, but I'll do the best I can today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not feeling well at all. It's not been a good night. Anyway, I guess I better run through the rules before I start. Excuse me. Number one, this is not a political channel, and we don't discuss politics unless it's at Tommy's discretion. Second one, this isn't a religious channel. It's fine to say things like, I will pray for you, or I couldn't have found sobriety without my faith, but anything other than that is not okay. Third rule, please refrain from swearing, from cursing in the live chat and the comment section. You know, Tommy always says if you can't control your mouth, then you can't control your life. And the fourth one, there is absolutely no space on this boat for trolls at all. They belong under the bridge where they live, you know, that's where they need to stay, guys. Okay, so I wanted to talk today about how powerful perspective and gratitude can be. And I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember right now which one it was, but there were these two gentlemen discussing the one gentleman's addiction. They were both friends, and they were talking about a night where the friend had gone to pick his other friend up from jail, and it was like his fourth DUI or something like that. And he went and picked his friend up, and he was driving him home. It was about 3 or 4 in the morning, and he didn't. The friend that picked him up, he didn't say anything for about 20 minutes. It was just silence. You know, they were just sitting in the car, and you know, the guy that had received the DUI, you know, couldn't take it any longer, and he said, you know, what's going on? Why aren't you talking to me? He let out a sigh, and he said, well, look, I was just thinking that, you know, you have always been a really good friend to me. I guess they'd grown up together. You know, they were very close, and they were pretty much family. And he said, anymore, it seems just like you're just becoming a pain in my life. And yeah, what do you say to that? But but then they started to really talk, and he said, the guy that had the DUI said, you know, I don't know why I choose to do the things that I do. He said, I don't understand. I don't know why I'm caught up in this. And they continued to talk about it. And something that came out of the conversation were two things that he suggested to his friend that could change his situation. And those two things were perspective and gratitude. And I've been thinking about that ever since. And I have brought up the many benefits of gratitude before. I've talked about them. I mean, there are numerous studies done. I mean, my favorite one is where they took, I can't think right now how many people was in the study, but they were all complaining of depression. And for 30 days, they practiced gratitude. I believe they were writing things down, things that they were grateful for. And they did it for 30 days. And after that 30 days, that was the only treatment. There weren't any drugs, you know, any medications, nothing like that. And there wasn't any psychotherapy. It was just each participant practiced gratitude daily, you know, in writing. And after that 30 days, I don't remember what the numbers were, but a significant number of them were no longer depressed. That gratitude does so much. When you need to, when you're stuck in a rut, it does so many things. Shoot, where did I put that? I had my computer all set, my laptop all set up, because I had a picture I wanted to show you guys about perspective. And every time I got everything set up and I was ready to go live, um, everything is shut down again. I don't know what's going on, and I don't have time to mess with it. So I'm on my phone now, so I can't pull up the picture to show you. Um, but I'm sure you have heard of this before. Um, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here. I want to talk about perspective for a minute. I'm sure many of you have heard the allegory of the cave. It's found, I think, in book 7 of Plato's Republic. I think that's where it is. And that's why I wanted the picture to show you. But the in the allegory, talks about a group of prisoners, and they are shackled inside a cave, um, and they can only face one direction. And so, their whole world, their whole existence is just everything that they can see in front of them, and they really can't turn around because of the way that they're shackled. They can't, look behind them or anything like that. Their world is everything that they see in front of them, and the people that are next to them. That's about all their world is. And in the allegory, here are these prisoners that are shackled. Now behind them is a wall that they're shackled to, but behind that wall and up above, there is a fire that is lit. And so it's casting, it's casting its light out into the cave. And people behind this wall, people are walking in front of the fire with different objects. And so they cast, as the people walk through with those objects are casting, the shadows onto the wall. And that's the only thing that these prisoners can see. And so that they spend their time during the day just trying to identify which the different items are, and who can identify it first. I mean, that's their world. That's the only perspective that they have. And then one day, one of the prisoners escapes, and turns around, and he sees, he goes over the wall, and he sees what's really going on, and that the source of light is a fire, and that the objects that they are seeing are just the shadows of objects. And then he walks out of the cave, and he has never seen the sun before, and it strikes his eyes, and he can't see it first, but he has a completely different perspective. And the allegory goes a lot deeper into education and different things, and it's too early, guys, for philosophy. But I wanted to show you, I just wanted to show that the picture that I found that demonstrated that. So I wanted to talk about perspective for a minute, because I have talked quite a bit about gratitude in the past. And just a basic definition of perspective would be a particular attitude toward, or a way of regarding something. It's maybe it's something from your point of view. It's how you see things. It's kind of the lens that you use to see the world. And honestly, if you want to change your life, it requires that you change what you're looking at, and how you're looking at it. And that's different for everybody, because we all have been raised differently. We all have different values, and different things are important to us. But if you find that you are stuck, and that's what happens to us, in addiction, we find ourselves stuck in addiction. We're really stuck in a rut, and you reach that point where you just cannot continue to live that way any longer. but you don't know where to go or what to do at first. And honestly, a change of perspective really can help you get out of that rut and really change everything. Um, you know, y- uh, if to change your mindset, you need to look at things from a different angle. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I live, maybe 12 miles away from the farm I grew up on. And when I first left home, um, grief back in 89, I never wanted to come back here. I never wanted to come back to this valley. I detested everything about this place because of just the mess that I was when I left, and just how chaotic and crazy my home life had been, and just all of the things that had happened. It was hard, and I never planned to come back here. I never thought I'd be happy here again. And you know, all these years later, I've lived here, good grief. We've been here about 18 years now, my husband and I, and I am happy here, and I like it here. And I can now look back on things, and I've realized I have a very different perspective as an adult. And now that I've been able to, you know, take care of a lot of the issues that I had been struggling with for so long, I do really have a different perspective. And I look at my childhood now, and I used to look at it as just I hated even thinking about my childhood, and I hated my parents. I just hated everything about my childhood. I was miserable. I was depressed all the time. I was anxious. And now I look back on it and I realize I had an ideal childhood in many ways. I grew up on a farm, and we didn't have a lot of money. So we had a very good diet because we had to grow our own food. And we what we grew in the garden is what we ate all year round, because we'd have to count it, bottle it, preserve it. So I had a we didn't have money to eat out, and there are a lot of things we just didn't have money for. Because of that, my brother and I spent our days when we were kids, before we had a lot of chores, we spent our days just running around outside. We could shoot our BB guns. We could go anywhere we wanted. We could play in the canals. We had a ball. And and we had a well on the farm to get our water. So the water that we were drinking growing up wasn't contaminated with chlorine and fluoride and different things. I look back at it now and I'm like, this is I had a great childhood. The things that were going on in my home weren't very good, but I can look at it now, and I realize, wow, it really wasn't all that bad, in many ways. And I also lived next door to my grandparents, and you guys, I'd be a basket case. I never would have left the state hospital than from my grandparents, honestly. But it's a different perspective that I've taken, and I can look at this valley that I live in now, and I think it's beautiful, and I'm happy here now. But it took a long time for that to change. Um, you know, I think that's when you're in active addiction, you're stuck, and you get to the point where the only way that you know how to deal with challenges with different things is with your drug of choice. That's really, that becomes your only way. And you're stuck. You have this belief that you need your drug of choice, or the behavior that you would do, just to get through life. And you might not believe that you even have the coping skills to ever do anything differently. So you really do. You need to have a drastic change in your perspective. You need to see things with a different lens. Um, to see things, just to see that there are other possibilities. And so I found this article. I found a bunch of them. I kind of threw them all together, but it just came up with it, suggested all these different things that you can do to try to get a different perspective, especially if you feel like you are in a rut, if you're stuck. And that's, I just wanted to go through these. The first one I have here is um, to stop comparing yourself to other people. Um, that's a surefire way, honestly, to bring your self-esteem down, is first of all to compare yourself to somebody else. Every one of us are unique individuals, and we have our own talents, our own strengths, our own weaknesses. Everybody's different, and it really does no good in many, ultimately to compare yourself to someone else. And it really is a waste of time if you think about it. It's basically like trying to compare an apple to an orange, that old analogy. They're both fruit and they're both healthy. But it's hard to it, they're definitely not the same. So, the first one to be stop comparing yourself with other people. The second one, it suggests that you embrace change. I know that's a hard one. Um, it doesn't matter what the change is for, whether it's a good change or a bad change. Change is difficult, and our brains always want to revert back to what the base level of anything is. That's what our brains automatically want to do. Um, and it's kind of funny that that we resist change so much, because that is really the only constant in this life, is that things change. That's the only constant that I can think of besides God. That's just how I see it. But it really is best to embrace change. If it turns out badly, you can always look and see what you can learn from it. And if the change is great, then just enjoy it. But don't be afraid of change. um Try to enjoy the good, and learn from the bad, but embrace it instead of resisting it. I think that's, if you can just learn to be okay with change, that's half the battle right there. The third one I have here is, don't sweat the small stuff. And that's I remember my parents always, I was such a sensitive kid, and everything would make me cry. Everything upset me. And I remember my parents looking at me like, you're crying over spilled milk, and I would get so upset over just little things. And it was hard. And it was because I'm just a very detail oriented person. So the small things are kind of what I like to focus on. And, it's it's not always a good thing. Um, and in the grand, what you need to do is try to look at things from the grand scheme rather than looking at little things. Try to look at the overall, the general perspective for a minute, and realize that the little things, the little details don't matter so much in the big picture. Let's see. And a lot of that stuff, honestly, I just discovered too, comes uh, with age. The older I get, the easier it is to let go of the smaller things. It really does get easier. Let's see, the fourth one I have here, and I wish I could play the video. It's look on the bright side. You say that, and what pops in my head is always look on the bright side of life. The Monty Python song that they sing at the end of Life of Brian. I don't know if you guys, if any of you have seen that. I wish I could show just that little section of the movie. It's so funny. All these people are being crucified by the Romans, and they're hanging on their crosses, and yet you're singing this silly song. Anyway, it can be difficult to look on the bright side in anything. Um, and so the trick is to try to look for the silver lining. And I honestly now am grateful for the challenges that I have and the difficult things that I face. And I'm grateful for the difficult things that I've been through. And some of the things I've been through aren't have not been all that fun at all. But I honestly can say I am grateful for them, because without something hard, without a challenge, how are you going to learn? How are you going to grow? So, trying to find the silver lining in any situation, look for that bright side. You're going to be able to think and think more clearly, and as things are just going to be easier. So, I encourage you to, whatever the situation is, especially if it's a bad one, look for the silver lining there, because there is one. If anything, it's going to be a chance for you to grow and to learn something new. Excuse me. The fifth one is, don't take things for granted. And I think this one has a lot to do with gratitude again. But this one, says to learn to appreciate the small things. Um, I was thinking about this. I used to have a rocking chair, and it had been given to me as a gift when I was a new mom. And believe it, I think it was both my daughters painted on the back of it, with acrylic paints. One time they got into my paints when I was at work or something. I don't remember, but they painted all over the back of this rocking chair, and it was a beautiful chair. And I remember being so upset with it. And then I would, once in a while, I would open up a book and I would find, I love books. Like, I have books everywhere in this house. And books were always a big deal to me. And there are some that are really special to me. And I know there are many times I've opened up a book and there'll be scribbles all over, and I look back at those. I remember how upset I was at the time. And now I look at those things, and the paint on the back of that rocking chair makes me happy now, because it brings the memories of my daughters and how sweet they were when they were that age. And now I open up books and they've got their scribbles in them. I don't mind anymore. And I never thought that I would ever feel that way about anything. But, I realized I was really taking taking those little marks that my children were leaving on my items. I was taking all that for granted. It actually means a great deal. And I don't know, and maybe that's a poor example of one, but that's what came to mind. I was just thinking of, little things, and they actually do mean a lot. And the sixth one I have here is, well, it said on the article, it said forgive and forget. And I've scratched out the forget part on that one. I don't know if it's ever possible to truly forget anything, especially, if it's a bad thing that happened to you. It's hard to forget. And I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to forget. But to forgive is a big deal. If you were holding a grudge against someone, the only person that is hurting is you. the person that you're holding the grudge against, it's not doing a thing to them. They probably have no idea that you're holding a grudge at all. I was thinking of that lady. I've spoken of her a few times. The lady, wow, guys, I'm sorry, I don't feel well. I can't think of her name, but she was a Holocaust survivor, and she was the one. It was her and her twin sister that were some of the twins that Dr. Mengele had worked on, and she experienced some very horrible things while she was at Auschwitz, but she chose to forgive, and it changed everything for her. It freed her. It just felt like a huge burden had been lifted from her, and it was really sad because a lot of the people from that community, of survivors, were very angry and upset with her over that. But I think she had the right idea there. It was very freeing for her. It really, harboring um, a lot of negative emotions towards someone, really is destructive to you. It's not a good thing. The next one I have here is to live in the present. And, it was talking about how, the past is gone. It's done. Um, I think it's a great idea to learn from past mistakes, but to dwell on your past, especially if it's negative, that's not going to do you any good at all. And the future isn't here yet. And, you can't, I think it's really important to set goals and plan for the future, but putting everything on an event in the future isn't wise. It really is a trick to learn to be happy in the here and now. Um, and what was it? It was a Kung Fu Panda where they were. Sorry, guys, I can't think. I just remember saying. I remember somebody with a little soft-spoken Oriental voice saying something about that's why it's called the present. But it really that's we need to learn to live in the present. Enjoy the moments that you have from day to day. Um, you're a lot happier if you can learn to live in the present moment. Um, the next one I have here is don't be afraid to try new things, like sobriety. If you're coming to the lifeboat right now and you're still in active addiction and you want to make a change, don't be afraid of it. It's not an easy thing to overcome an addiction, but dang it, it's so worth it. But really, sometimes if you find yourself in a rut, what you need is a challenge. You need to embrace something new or learn something new. You might find a new thing that becomes your favorite. Um, and kind of isn't that what we're doing on the boat in a way? Um, trying to learn something new, um, a new way to live. Um, so really don't be afraid to try new things. And if you are still resisting um, going and sitting down and writing in a journal, I mean, there's an example right there. Don't be afraid of trying something new just because you think, oh, I'm not going to enjoy that, or it's not going to do any good. Yeah, give it a chance. Just try it and see, honestly. um, the next one I have here is don't be afraid of failing. I think that's something we can all get stuck, um, and get so anxious about something that that it gets really hard to take a chance or to try something new to move forward in a way. Um, and I think it's really important. I think it's really important that kids learn we all are going to experience failure in life. Um, and I don't think enough children, at least from what I see anymore, it seems like a lot of kids today aren't allowed to experience the consequences of failure, and they don't know how to handle it. I've seen a lot of that. Um, but really, failure is just a part of life. You're not going to be successful in everything you do. Sometimes you are going to fail. The key is to learn from it, learn from that mistake, so you don't make it again. And how do you really learn if you don't mess up? You have to learn what works and what works for you. So, don't be afraid of that. And don't fear sobriety, um, just because you might experience a relapse. Don't use that as an excuse at all. Relapse, it happens. It's part of learning how to be sober. The next one that I have here is, um, not to be so hard on yourself. We honestly are our own worst critics. And if you grew up in a house where your parents were very critical of you, and if they were very negative in the things that they said to you, what's sad is that becomes your inner voice. The voice that your parents use and the way that they speak to you, that becomes your inner voice and how you speak to yourself. And so we really can be our own worst critics. We need to be a little more understanding and kind with ourselves. I don't, when you make a mistake, I don't think it does you any good to not take note of that. But to beat yourself up over something over and over again, does you absolutely no good at all. You do need to be patient and kind with yourself, especially when you're trying to find sobriety. You need to treat yourself with the same kind of understanding and love that you would a fellow addict that is struggling. The next one, let's see. Okay, live life based on your values. And, for a very long time, that's exactly what I was not doing. When I was, all the years I was an addict, went against everything that I've ever been taught. And it went against who I was. I was definitely, I hated myself. I was not happy with myself at all. Um, but what is most important to you? What do you really, really value? That's what you need, those need to be priorities in your life. If you are being true to who you authentically are inside, you're automatically going to be more content and more happy. But you do have to live according to what your personal values are and what's most important to you. The next one I have is to take care of yourself. Um, as far as eating well, putting the right kinds of foods into your body, um, getting adequate sleep, exercise, um, doing things like getting dental checkups and health checkups, and when you get older, like, yeah, I've been putting off a colonoscopy now for years, guys. I want to do it. I need to. But in general, though, you need to take care of yourself, because if you want to be able to take care of other people and help other people, you've got to be whole first. So you do need to make that a priority. And that, I can see how that can, give you a different bit of perspective if you can take good care of yourself. The next one I have is spend time with positive people. Um, I had a friend that used to be over here at my house almost every day, and I love her dearly, but had she was exhausting. Um, every single day, it seemed like I had to spend before we could do anything, or go anywhere, I had to spend about 45 minutes building her up again and reminding her of all the reasons why she's a worthy person and she's a good friend and and guys, it was exhausting. And she was very, very negative about everything. And I finally it became exhausting. Um, Honestly, I was exhausted every time she'd leave, and I felt really, really bad, but I had to end our friendship. Well, I mean, I didn't wanna end it, but I had to ask her not to come over so much, and she didn't take it well, and I tried to explain why. That didn't go over well either, but it made a huge difference in me and how I felt, because it was exhausting. Um, Negative people can really drain you. Um, and they can also keep you stuck, really. You need to have surround yourself with people that are positive, and it does help too if people that are around you, if you share the same values that they do, and if that helps a lot. And but above all else, sobriety is so important. The people that are around you need to know how important your sobriety is to you and respect that, or really they shouldn't have any place around you at all. But I think that's a very important one, is to keep the people that you keep around you. Make sure that they are positive people and that they're not draining your energy from you or keeping you stuck. Um, let's see, the next one that I have is, um, let's see, appreciate life. And this one kind of, I thought it was kind of odd that this one was in the same article that I found. What was the earlier one that was very much like this? I guess the little things, but life really is a gift. Um, you need to unwrap that gift and find out, you know, why life is so precious. If you don't know right now, find out. If you're in a really bad spot right now, count, maybe count your blessings and practice a little gratitude. But life really is beautiful. It's full of challenges, and seems like the world's getting to be a darker place these days, but you know what? I'm still finding so many reasons to stay positive and to be happy. And I mean, just I don't know, my grandchildren and my husband and our kids, our lives together. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And yeah, it wasn't always that way, and I had to find sobriety first before we even had a chance. But I promise you that life really is a beautiful thing and it really is a gift. And if you're still stuck in addiction, you're not really living, and life really is worth it. I can promise you that. Appreciate this gift that you have of life. The next one that I have is, live your life with purpose. Um, are you doing things in your life right now that are fulfilling? Do you find that you have meaning in your life? Um, that's an important one. You need to have, you need to have a goal that you're always working towards. If we're constantly working towards making something better or making yourself better, that it does provide some happiness and some fulfillment. But really, you do want to do things that have meaning. And boy, I'll tell you, there were many, many years I wasted just um, taking pill after pill after pill. There was absolutely no meaning in that, and it nearly destroyed me. And yeah, life is a lot different now. The next one I have is take time for yourself, and I think this goes along with what I was talking about earlier about taking good care of yourself. Um, you know, life gets so busy, and there's so many things that you have to get done every day, whether it's at your job, at your house, but everybody has things they have to do, and some of those things aren't pleasant and they aren't fun. You still got to get them done, so it is important that you have some time for some enjoyment where you can, some me time where you can do a hobby or read a book or go for a walk, or do something that you enjoy doing. Everybody needs to have that. It kind of renews your energy, and it helps with stress. It helps with a lot of things. I think that's an important one as well. Um, Everybody, needs some mental health time, and all of you that are coming to the lifeboat every day and listening to Tommy and I, um, that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking time for yourself. You understand how important sobriety is, and that's exactly what you're doing here. So good on you. Um, Next one I have here is to live with intention. Um, I think it's really important, and I have spoken a little bit about this before, but it really is important to set goals and be working towards them. Um, you need to have intention with the way that you're living your life. Um, if you're not growing. You're in a stagnant state. Um, and there is a definite difference between just merely existing and actually truly living. If you're living, then you do have intent in the things that you're doing. There's an ultimate goal behind it. And yeah, that I think that one can be very powerful. The next one that I have here um, is to appreciate what you have. And I just thought, that's gratitude all over again. That one helps me out so much, especially, I go through cycles of depression. Not fun. But when I get really down, I have to remind myself of all the wonderful things I have in my life and all the things and all the people I'm grateful for. I actually got this my mother gave me this for a gift. It's a little blessing jar, and it's just got um, these little cards inside. And these ones are all blank, but at the bottom of it is just full of cards that I have already written things. It's mostly people in my life that are in there now. But when I'm very, very grateful for something, I like to write it down on one of these little cards and keep it in this jar. And then I can go back to the jar and pull them out and look through everything and remember just how many blessings I do have in my life that can do such a huge shift in your mindset. Practicing gratitude. Um, the next one is to give back. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. I always wanted to be someone that could help and heal and and bind up and help. I just the way I am. I guess it's kind of a calling in my life, and that's why I became a nurse. Um, but that's why I'm doing this now. Is just because there's so many things that I've learned, and there were so many amazing people that helped me along the way. And I don't know how to repay that except to give it back in turn, to try to help other people get where where I find myself now. But really that honestly to be happy and to have some fulfillment in your life, this is one of the best things you can do, is to give back in some way. Seriously, very good one. The next one I have here is to simplify your life. Um, that could mean many things, maybe decluttering your house, or decluttering your schedule, maybe taking um, off your schedule some of the things that aren't so necessary. Um, because I know I've had to with um, the health challenges that I have. I've had to learn to let a lot of things go. Um, my house is not in perfect order anymore. It used to be spotless and not cluttered at all. I was such a perfectionist, and oh boy, but with the health challenges that I have, there's sometimes I can't. There's a lot of things I've had to let go of, and it's really not that bad. It's really not as hard as you might think it would be to let a few things go. Um, I'm not saying, let your house go completely and never do your dishes or clean your bathrooms or vacuum your floors. That's not what I'm saying, but it is okay to let some things go, to simplify things. Um, it really does help to, if the things that you are doing every day are the most important things, because then you've got that intent that I was just talking about behind it, and it becomes more meaningful. And yeah, there's, like I said, there's so many different ways you could, simplify your life that would be different for everyone, but it really does help. Um, really does. Um, and honestly, you need your energy um, to maintain your sobriety anyway. So, let go of a few of the things that just aren't necessary, that aren't absolutely necessary, and you might be better off for it. Um, let's see. That one was just a repeat. Let's see. Stop worrying so much. I liked that one because I worry constantly about everybody I care about. I worry about them. I worry about all of our chickens. And I mean, it's just the way I am. I'm a worrier. Again, I've had to learn to let some of my worries go, and just not focus on them and concentrate on them anymore. Because, when you're worried about something, that creates stress, and the stress is absolutely no good for your health at all. What you need to try to do is focus on the things that you can control. you know Worrying about things that you have no control over does nothing but upset you. um, the next one I have is to believe in yourself. And if you are just trying to find sobriety right now, that's a hard one, because addiction really, when you hit rock bottom in addiction, you are not happy with yourself at all. You don't like yourself one bit. um, but you do need to believe that you have the power to overcome your addiction, and to overcome the trauma or the problems that drove you to the addiction in the first place. And I've been very open with you guys about my mental illnesses and just the crazy things that have happened in my life. If I can make it out of that and be where I am now, anybody can. And I want you to believe in yourselves. You have the ability to overcome anything you set your mind to. You really do. That's an important one. And the last one that I have here is to be yourself. I remember being very confused when I went to rehab. I really didn't know who I even was anymore. Um, and it took a while to figure out what was most important to me, who in my life was most important, things like that. But I had to remember I did have to remember what are my values? What are the most important things to me? And then I had to start living my life accordingly so that my actions matched who I really was inside. And, when you're an addict, when you're in an active addiction, you're definitely not being your true self. You're just tearing yourself down. Um, that's a really important one, is to be yourself. Don't try to be someone you're not. Don't pretend to be someone else. This is where journaling really helps, at figuring out who you are and what is most important to you. But you need to be yourself and live, um, and be true to yourself. I hope that makes sense. Um, you know, that's those are I thought those were the most important ones that I came across. I've spent time before talking about gratitude, so I'm not going to go into that too much. I just want to remind you, though, that there are definite benefits to practicing daily gratitude. Um, you sleep better, your blood pressure goes down, your overall level of inflammation in your body goes down. Your positive thoughts increase. Um, you if you sorry, can't think, guys. I really don't feel well. Anyway, I also, let's see, I was looking over my notes, and it was talking about how practicing gratitude too will up your levels of serotonin, your endorphins, and so therefore that's going to boost your mood. Um, it also makes it easier, practicing gratitude, it makes it easier to deal with past regrets and past mistakes. It helps in dealing with resentments. And if you share your gratitude with other people, that can strengthen relationships as well. And was there anything else? Oh, and also practicing gratitude can really help with your mental strength and your mental resiliency. And I think being emotionally resilient, or mentally resilient right now is something we all are going to need in the coming days. So, um, highly encourage you to maybe keep a gratitude journal. Just write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. It's such a simple thing, but it really can have a profound effect on you. Just same way that a change in perspective can change everything as well. And sorry guys, that's about all I have prepared for you guys today. Um, did someone try, hang on here? Did someone try to pop up? But I wasn't even paying attention. I had pinned. No, it doesn't look like it. Or did they? Anyway, I had pinned the. I've been pinning the link. If anybody ever wants to jump on, I've been pinning it at the top of the comments. And I did forget to mention that. I apologize, guys. And I apologize. I know my energy is way down today. I just don't feel well. But I hope you guys have a great day, and I do want you to believe in yourself. You do have what it takes to be sober and to maintain that sobriety. You do have what it takes to do that. I promise you, because I was one of the weakest of the weak, and I found a way out. And I'll tell you, it's definitely worth it. And life is worth living. It really is. And Yeah, it's not without its challenges, but I'm happy and I don't mind taking on challenges now. I'm not afraid. It's all good. But you guys hang in there and reach out to one another, let's build one another up. This boat is an amazing thing. You guys have a great day. And I'm sure I'll talk to you again tomorrow. We'll see ya.